Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Human AF podcast. I'm your host, Steph.
And I am your other host, Steph Taylor.
And today we are joined by an incredible woman that both of us have been connected to for a while. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about our conversation about the body keeps the score, how the body stores trauma. Before we even get into that, let's introduce our guest, Meleah.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
We're so happy to have you. We're so happy this worked out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's really exciting.
So, fun fact is that Meleah, I think you were the one that recommended that I read The Body Keeps the Score in a random
Oh,
conversation that we had years ago, or maybe you shared it to your story or something. But I, in my mind, associate you with that book, like in terms of who recommended it. And I actually ordered it about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and it sat on my shelf just kind of daring me to read it, but I wasn't ready until this year.
mm.
So
Oh my gosh, I love that. I had no idea that yeah, well, that book has changed my life. It literally,
yeah.
when I read that book, it was like my life before that book and my life after that book. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised that you heard it from me because I'm like telling everybody and their mother and their grandmother and all the rest of their family members to read it. So
I'm
I
right
love
there
that.
with you.
That's actually kind of funny that you say that life begins before the or like life after before the book and life after the book, because it was actually something that you said slash encouraged me to do that I feel like, and it wasn't read the book, but I feel like it has since divided my life into before and after as well. And as Steph had said, like we've all known each other for quite some time, and I've followed your journey on progressing through your trauma and your healing, and um it was triggering to me. But
Mm.
why don't you share more about like what you do and what you help people with? Because I think that that really plays into this conversation about how the body stores trauma and kind of where your journey has led you to.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so there are so many different ways that I can explain what I do, but recently I've kind of come down to this simple way of describing it that I'm kind of like a personal trainer, but for your mental health, your emotional health, and your nervous system health. Because basically, when we move through the world and we go through challenging experiences, every single experience that we have shapes the way that we feel in our body and shapes our subconscious mind and the thoughts that we think and the way we feel about ourselves and the way we feel about whether we are capable or not capable of doing something or whether we're worthy or not worthy of doing something. And it literally impacts every single step of our journey. And my role is to help people become really conscious of what kinds of things have impacted their nervous system and their body and what kind of traumas have they've picked up through their lives that impact and still get in the way of them becoming the best person that they want to be, doing the things that they want to do, healing the things that they want to heal through. So I work specifically with the nervous system and the body. And I work with people who literally come to me and they just want support through this modality to help with chronic illness, mental health, reaching their fullest potential, overcoming blocks in their businesses. Like there's so many different things that this can apply to. And I basically kind of do personal training with them so that they can move through these things that their body has been holding onto and carrying, so that they can move into the next phase of their life from a little bit more of a pure, clear lens and show up in the way that they actually want to.
I
I
love the
think,
way you're describing that.
yeah, I think it's so important because as we as we are, progressing on this journey of this podcast of having hard conversations and the sort of inner work that you have to look at, you almost don't realize how much your body has stored in your self-worth and your beliefs and just all the external stuff that's been coming to you from the point when you're a baby all the way to when you become an adult, you don't realize how much actually has been traumatic for you.
Mm.
And that reflects in how you show up in relationships with other people and how those relationships, and it could be like a split-second relationship of like somebody on the subway or whatever. And I say subway because I'm looking at Steph from New York City. There are no subways in Manitoba.
I was gonna say, where are
There's
there
none in
subways
Oregon either.
in Manitoba?
There are no subways in Oregon either.
That's funny.
Mm.
But just we don't, there could be such little interactions and we react to them because of how things are kept in our body, whether that's in our subconscious, whether that's in our physical bodies. And so having the awareness and the ability to release that stress
Mm.
is so important. And you've really helped me this year in one of the actions that you sort of saw I needed that I didn't recognize. And that completely shifted my ability to heal my body and heal my brain from that release of trauma. And now doing more work with you in like the breathwork stuff that you do, it's been mind-boggling to see the changes in my physical body, let alone my mental and emotional body. Like
Mm.
wild. Wild.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a really interesting thing. You know, I was having a conversation with some guy at the sauna last night at the gym I go to, and he was like just telling me this story because he was asking me what I do, and he was just looking at me with like these big wide eyes, and he was like, I just don't really understand like how you do that. And I was like, you know, it's basically just a combination of how your physical body impacts your mental health and how your mental health impacts your physical body. And he went and told me this story. He's like, about how he like went and got this massage and he just started breaking down and crying. And I was like, that's it. Like your body, you know, so many people, and this is a huge part of my work too, is like, you know, I was studying to be a therapist. I went all the way through my graduate school. I got my master's degree in clinical psychology. I did an internship as a grief therapist. I like was going down that path. And I was like, traditional talk therapy just doesn't do it. Like there's and traditional talk therapy changed my life. Like I am not hating on traditional talk therapy. It literally changed my life. And it comes to a point where we can't get any further until we start working with the body. And you know, a lot of people try to change the way that they think or think more positively or like be more, you know, grateful, or they just try to like kind of push through things on a mental level, and they just get stuck and stuck and stuck. And that comes down to whether you're moving through something like anxiety and you're trying to think, you know, more peaceful thoughts, or it comes down to like if you're trying to reach your next level of success in business. If you're trying to do it mentally and you're trying to tell yourself, you know, like I am successful, or trying to push yourself into these positions, but your nervous system and your body don't feel on board with what you're saying, and the body, you know, there's like a dissonance between what your body feels and what your mind is thinking, we just can't progress forward in the way that we want to. And so, you know, once I started doing this work in my body, that is when my life literally began to change. And that's when it just became so much more rich in every single area. And yeah, it's just really fascinating. And there's so much more to learn about it still. I love how it's like such a brand new somatics. The study of the body is just such a new modality that we're still learning so much about it. And I'm just excited to be a part of it.
I love watching your journey unfold. And like speaking of somatics, I did a session with you last March, I want to say, or sometime around my birthday. And you actually helped me discover that like I wasn't using my voice. I wasn't, or I was afraid to like speak up because of experiences that I'd had in the past. And it's interesting now that after that conversation, it must have unlocked something, because now I have 3 podcasts and now I don't stop talking. So,
That tends to
so
happen.
yeah, and it's so funny how like just by realizing like where I was stuck and what was getting stuck and what the issue was, it propelled me on this like other journey that I didn't even know was about to happen. And here we are a year and a half later almost.
Mhm.
Pretty cool.
I love that. I love that. I'm so happy to hear that too.
Yeah.
Hey, Meleah, I have a question for you to like kind of when we talk about the body keeps score, and we've touched on this in the last episode of like you need to feel your feelings, and you talk about somatic healing. What does that even mean? Because, and I'm just going to say it from my own perspective, when you're going down this journey, like this inner work that you're like, something's wrong with me and I don't know. And you go through the talk therapy, but there is that resistance of like, I'm not sure what else. And then it is all the positive affirmations and just shift your thinking. Where do people, like when people have told me even you need to feel your feelings, like, what does that even mean? Like I cry, but what does that even mean to go deeper and have these releases? So can you kind of explain that part of this?
Absolutely. It's literally like one of my favorite topics. I love this question so much. And I was actually, the guy last night that I was talking to in the hot tub, like we were having the same conversation because he's like, I grew up in a military background. I was taught to like just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like keep charging forward and not slow down to feel anything. And like you don't cry, like move forward. And he's like, so like he was like, so what would you be doing with a person in session to like help them do that? And I was like, let me tell you, because this is my favorite thing. So first of all, I want to just acknowledge that like feeling your feelings, people don't do it because it fucking sucks. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please drop them off.
It sucks. It's really, really, really hard. It is really painful sometimes. Like, that's why a lot of people don't do it because it's hard. But it does take practice and allowing yourself to just go at your own pace, first of all. Like, you don't have to dive into the deep end and feel all of your feelings right away and just like put yourself right into the 12-foot deep pool and swim all the way to the bottom. Like, that's actually not good for your nervous system. So allowing yourself to kind of like dip your toes in and come back out and allow yourself to kind of go back and forth. I just kind of wanted to start by saying like that is really, really important because we don't want to overwhelm or flood your nervous system for it to become too overwhelming and too, hard, depending on what you are trying to feel, where your body's like, I can never do that again. Like it can actually get you back into a state where you're freezing and being like, I don't ever want to touch any of that again. So the first thing I just want to say is like, it can be hard and that is okay. And it's supposed to be hard. And you are in the driver's seat. You get to choose how deep you want to go at any point. You get to decide when you want to back out of the water. But our emotions are experienced. A lot of people think that like we feel sad or we feel happy in our head, but really what we're experiencing when we are happy or sad is we are experiencing different physical sensations in the body. So, for example, if you are experiencing anxiety, your body is going to experience anxiety as a really, really fast heartbeat, shallow breathing, or even holding your breath, tightening up your muscles, clenching your stomach, which can turn into things like digestive problems, headaches, challenges sleeping. But it's literally these physical sensations in your body. And so if somebody were to tell me like, well, I don't know how to feel my anxiety, if I'm working with somebody one-on-one and they're telling me like, well, how do I feel this? I would ask them something like, okay, so how are you feeling right now? And they're like, I feel really anxious. How do you know that you feel anxious? Where do you feel that in your body? And they would say, okay, well, my stomach feels really tight. It feels like there's a knot there. And I would just go ahead and ask them to place their hand on their belly. Just connect with it. Just like notice this part of your physical body. We're dropping out of our head and down into, the nose and down. basically. Noticing if you're tightening your jaw, noticing if your shoulders are hunched up. It shows up differently for everybody, and it's really unique for everyone. And so asking them, like, where in your body do you feel that? Noticing if you have a tightness in the stomach, or if your heart is pounding, or if your chest feels really tight, like noticing those sensations, and just allowing those sensations to be experienced. Because what's happening, and the reason why a lot of people think that emotions are happening in the mind, is because they feel their heart starting to race. They feel, it's not comfortable. When your heart is like racing out of your chest and you feel like you can't really breathe very well, like that's when people are like really wanting to shift out of that and not feel that. And so they go into their head and try to fix it and go, what am I anxious about? What can I do differently? What do I need to do to like make this feel better? And in reality, like their body is just like in a spiral at this point, where it's starting to beat faster and getting more tense and feeling more overwhelmed. And so literally just like having a moment where you allow yourself to feel the sensations that are happening in your body. It's not even necessarily about like allowing yourself to cry, but sometimes for me, like when I would be in that moment where instead of trying to run away from these physical sensations, I slowed down and put a hand on my heart that was racing, or I put a hand on my gut where it was really tight and clenched and felt nauseous. It allowed me to just kind of be with this and talk to my body and just be like, it is okay. You're safe right now. It's safe to be having a racing heart. It's not comfortable, but it is safe. And that is usually when we start to cry, because we're giving ourselves this compassionate acknowledgement of, I see you, I feel you, you're here. We're not escaping into our brain or completely dissociating out of our body to try to get rid of it. We are dropping into it and going, this is really uncomfortable, but like you are safe. And that is usually when a lot of people will have an emotional release, because they're getting that acknowledgement. They're getting that love. They're getting that attention and validation that they may not have been feeling from their caregivers, their partners, themselves for their whole lives. And they're finally getting it for the first time. And that's when an emotional release really starts to take place.
Wow, I had the chills.
Holy, that was probably the best description I've heard. And
Mhm.
I learned so much from that too.
Yeah. I love the part where you said like the moment where you start to cry is like that's when you realize it's safe. Like you don't have to be like in fight or flight mode. You just get to like sit there, feel it, release it, let it all out. Like that, like something just clicked for me.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they are like, okay, and myself included, like this is something that I have learned working with, hundreds of clients at this point, and my own work. And like if I sit down and I like try to make myself feel my feelings and cry, like it's almost reenacting like a parent who's telling you to do something or to not do something, and you're sitting down, you're like, why aren't you crying? Why aren't you feeling this? Like you need to feel this. Like, and instead, it's like allowing yourself to have this compassion and this love and this safety. And with that, that's usually when you realize, holy shit, I haven't felt safe. I haven't felt loved. I haven't felt validated. I haven't felt like anybody is being compassionate towards me. And by giving yourself that, that is when the emotional releases take place, because it can be really sad in those moments when you realize like, wow, I haven't felt validated and safe, and like somebody's acknowledged where I'm feeling or how I'm feeling in so long. And there's a lot of anger that can come up. There's a lot of sadness that can come up, a lot of grief that comes up with giving yourself love. Because when you give yourself what you weren't getting, that is when you get the opportunity to actually feel and release those things that you carried with you your whole life about how frustrating it was that you weren't getting them.
Wow. And
It's-
I mean, I don't know about you, Steph, but I find that every time, like, 'cause there are moments when I'll get this like wave of like anxiety or fear, frustration or whatever, and it'll be like at the worst possible freaking moment. Like I'm out at a bar or at a concert or I'm at work, and it's just like I'm so overwhelmed with this feeling. And it's like the most inconvenient time to feel my feels. But I know that if I don't do something about it and I don't give myself a minute to feel it, it's just going to fester and be carried with me throughout the day. So I have really, over the last, like, I want to say year or two, made it a practice to step away, give myself just a minute to feel it, or step away and call somebody like my husband, like my safe space, to just, talk it out and allow myself to feel it. So what are some tips that you give to people who have, like, I guess, a crazy busy life? um there is benefit in taking a minute to step away and just feel it.
Yeah, this is such a great question. Yeah, it really takes me back to like when I first started my healing journey, and it was, I have a very, very significant history of trauma. Um, and I got to a point, and I had no idea, like when I start sharing and talking about these things with friends for the first time, and I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my God, like that was really intense. And that was really traumatic. And like my whole life, I grew up thinking it wasn't a big deal. And it's like, no, that is like significant. And when you start actually diving into those things, it is like, once you start going on this journey of becoming more aware of these things just pop up left and right. And it's like, you can't expect when it's going to pop up. You can't expect what you're going to feel and when you're going to feel it. You can't control it. And you kind of have to be in this dance of like, okay, my body is going to be having responses at random times. And like, I am so busy. At the time when I was starting my healing journey, I was a full-time student in college and I was working 2 jobs. And I didn't have the time. And I would literally schedule time. I would literally schedule time, even if it was 5 minutes, or schedule time, 30 minutes, schedule an evening, like whatever it was that I could do, however I could fit it. I scheduled it like it was my 3rd job. And I would allow myself to just be with whatever it was that I was feeling. And I also just made it a very, very, very non-negotiable practice that every morning for 1 to 10 minutes, depending on what I had time for, to just take a moment to put a hand on my heart, to connect with my body, to connect. I know that like the feelings that I feel and the emotions that I feel really strongly are held in my chest, in my heart, and held in my gut. And so every morning before I started my day, I would take a moment to put a hand on my heart, put a hand on my gut, and just connect with it and just say, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I know you're here. I just want to send you some love, and like just like tending to your body like it is an infant, because your body has these very fast, uncontrollable, sometimes irrational feeling responses like infants, where you're like, why are you crying? I don't understand what's going on. And it's like, if you're allowing yourself time to be like, whatever happens today, like, I got you. We can step away. We can be with this. And something that I teach to my clients is like, sometimes we don't have time. And so we can put it on the shelf and we acknowledge it. And we say like, I see you, I feel you. You can have like a quick a quick tear. I can't even tell you how many times when I was bartending that I would like go into the bathroom and just like, and just like cry and shake and just be like, oh my God, this is so stressful. This is so overwhelming. And I would just pull myself together and I would be like, okay, we have to shelf this. I will come back to you later. And then following up on that promise to yourself of like, it's like building a relationship with a child. If you tell the child, we're going to come back to this later, you want to come back to that later with the child, or they're going to be confused and they're going to feel like that you're not dependable. Like you want to build this feeling and this relationship of trust with your nervous system and with your body. and just being like, whatever happens today, I got you. I see you. I'm coming back for you. And I just want to let you know that like, you can feel whatever it is that you feel, and know that like, if we have to shelf it right now, we will come back. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I would actually love to talk a little bit more about that, because I'm a mom. I'm a mom and I'm a single mom. And I have found that a lot of my stuff comes up around my kids because of,
Mm.
like you just have a lot going on as a mom, and you're being pulled in a million different directions. And as a single mom, like you've got a lot of weight on you, and then stuff comes up. And
Can
so,
only imagine. I don't have kids, but I can only imagine.
it's kind of, it's been an interesting process for me to um have those, oh, I'm gonna cry now, have those moments where you just want to break down, but
Mm,
you also don't want to show that much in front of your kids. Like you don't want to be this blubbery mess in front of your kids. Like I've got young kids, so
mhm,
that would terrify them probably. And it kind of puts an emotional burden on them, which is not needed, but also showing that you can feel your feelings. If something
mm,
comes up, feel it. And I I have found the more I have been going into this somatic healing of feeling your feelings versus in your head, and don't get me wrong, I am still full on in my head.
oh yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. And I do this work every day.
But just even saying like mama just needs a few minutes, like mama just needs 5 minutes, and I'll get 10 seconds, but going into my room, closing the door, and just doing that silent scream as it all like
Mm,
energetically pours out of you. And sometimes, as much as you want to sit there for 5, 10, 30 minutes and do that, it's enough to keep going. It's
mm,
enough to keep going. And the more that I've done this work, the less I have need of those giant ones
yes.
versus I can be sitting there reading a story, and something in the story just triggers that grief emotion. And I just
Mm,
start crying. And my kids are like, "Why are you crying? Like, are you okay?" And I just go, like, mama just has some big emotions coming out. And like, I'm not sad or anything. I just need to let them out. And so it's almost like permission as a parent to show the journey and like
mm,
talk about it. It also, I think, in what you were saying too, you were going back to when you were a child, like you have to parent yourself. You need to give that love to yourself. You're raising the change you wish to see in the world. You're doing better for your kids than you had done for you. And like everybody just, what was your ceiling becomes their floor. And
mm,
so to show that I've given myself permission to show and talk about those emotions, as messy as it is, and as like, I don't know if they're going to need therapy. I'm just going to say they're going to need therapy no matter what I do. But as a mom, as a parent, as a busy person, you can still have those releases in front of people too.
mm. Yes. Yeah. I full disclosure here, like that is something that I am personally working on in my own life, is allowing myself to um have those emotional waves and be witnessed by somebody else. So for example, like I've started talking to, I have a friend who I've been friends with for about 3 years, and over the last couple of months, it's kind of turned a little bit into romantic territory. And, we were FaceTiming, and, we have very, very, very healing conversations together that bring up a lot of emotions for me. And I was like, okay, I noticed myself, dude. It was so unconscious. It was so unconscious. I was on the phone, FaceTime, and I was like, I'm just going to use the restroom really quick. And I literally went to the restroom and like burst into tears. And I was like putting eye drops in and like trying to like make it look like I like didn't cry. And I was like, wait a second. It was so unconscious. And I was like, oh my God, like it's so ingrained of like, don't show this, don't break down in front of somebody. It's not safe to break down in somebody. And I was like, okay, I have the opportunity to actually break a pattern right now. And so I went back on the phone and I was like, I just wanted to let you know that I just started bursting into tears in the bathroom. And then I felt like I needed to really hide it from you and feel like I couldn't show you that side of me. And I just wanted to like be straight up about where I was at with that, because this feels like a really great opportunity to break a long-term pattern of feeling like I have to put all these walls up and put these guards up. And, you know, since then, me and him both have had multiple conversations where we just cry in front of each other and share things openly. And it's like, it's so healing, but noticing in those moments when there's a pattern of like, oh, I don't feel safe right now. It doesn't feel safe to show this. And like you talking about being a mom, like there's a part of you that feels like it is not safe for my kids if I show this part of me. Like it's not safe for me to put this on my kids. And first of all, I just want to say that I think it is one of the most absolutely beautiful things ever when parents allow their children to witness themselves in painful emotions, because that is how we normalize the fact that we have big emotions. And just like you said, when you were like, I don't want this to feel like it's a burden or that I'm putting anything on them or they have to carry it. It's like, even you just being aware of that is literally enough. And even just saying like, you know, you don't have to do anything. I love you so much. I'm just, you know, mommy just needs to cry a little bit. Like this is just a really normal experience. I'm just feeling sad. And so I'm letting my body feel sad for a minute. I love you so much. Thank you for checking on me. Like
Yeah.
that is so powerful and so healing, not only for your children, but also for you.
Yeah, like you don't make a big deal over it. It's not
Yes.
catastrophic thing. I've definitely had so much more awareness over that, because before I couldn't stop myself from crying. I like I I would just I would spend my days in bed. Like it sucked. But
Yeah.
then to not make a big deal out of the times when I would just start crying, or the times where there would be the waves of whatever would come to me. I think it's also helped them in the way where it's like feelings aren't facts. They give you clues to stuff, but we don't have to make a massive deal over it. We can just let them come through and then carry on. Like talk about it. And it, I mean, you learn so much becoming a parent. Like
I can
it
only imagine.
is in order to parent to the best of your abilities, you literally become a better human, because kids learn by your example versus what you say. And
Amen.
right?
Amen.
Amen.
We all do. We all absolutely do. So yeah, it's been this incredible journey to do exactly as you said, of just allowing it to come up, but giving yourself permission to be in that moment regardless of who is around. Because as we all know from example, when people share their mess, you feel more connected. You feel safer to be yourself, because you can understand a little bit more of them. So in this whole thing of being able to have hard conversations with people, it is about being vulnerable. It is about understanding who you are and what is coming up for you and how that feels in your body, so that you can look at it and release it and have the conversation of, hey, I'm crying right now, and this is why I'm crying. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It's because of me. But like you're aware, and you're giving yourself permission to feel without it meaning that everything's awful.
Yes, I think that that is one of the most important things that we can remember about like allowing yourself to feel the emotions. I think a lot of people have a hard time with it too, because they identify their emotions as who they are because they haven't been taught that emotions are just literally energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion. And like you're just kind of slowing down and noticing, wow, the energy that is moving through my body is making my heartbeat really fast. It's making my muscles tense up. It's like you're just experiencing this energy that's moving through, and it's not you. It's not who you are. It doesn't mean anything about you. It is just an objective experience that you're allowing to pass like a wave. So I love that you just said that.
You just took it from I am thinking into I feel.
Yes.
When you change your verbiage around the emotions, you don't make them who you are. You make them what you feel. That just so clicked in for me, Meleah. Wow. Wow. And
Mm,
that in and itself lends to the whole like affirmation thing. I am worthy, I am strong, that kind of thing. It's you feel. You
yes.
feel like it, and then your vibration changes because your energy changes.
Mm,
Oh,
yes.
oh, Meleah, I love this. Thank you.
I love talking about emotions so much because like, when I used to have big, this is the Human AF podcast. Like, I'm going to be
Mhm.
real for a second. When I was younger, I had such huge emotions coming through me and so many things that like it made me feel like I was wrong. It made me feel like something was very broken inside of me. It felt like who I was. I was a hot mess. Hot, hot, hot mess. If you knew me back then, like you literally would not be able to recognize me. I wore like the really black eyeliner and like I would like spend days and days and days just like crying in bed. I kicked a hole in the wall. Like it was like these emotions, they felt like they were who I was. And I moved through my life going, I am fucked up and I am crazy and I am broken. And like the moment that I started to just be like, wait a second, this is just some energy and this is just like an experience that has been living in my body from that time when I was younger, and this is just a moment that I had that I'm having a memory of from that time when I was a teenager or like whatever it is. And it's like, okay, this is really uncomfortable, but like this isn't who I am. This is just an experience that my body has been carrying. My body is remembering. Your body always remembers. The body keeps the score. Like my body is just doing what it knows how to do to show me that like there might be another possibility of this happening all over again. And I'm just here to remind it like, you've been carrying a lot. I feel you. You're safe. This is not who I am. This is just an experience that my body is having in this moment. And that's when it becomes way easier to also feel your emotions, because you're not like going into this place where you're like, well, this really, really heavy, intense emotion is just who I am and I have to feel it. Like that's a whole different energy than this is an experience my body is having and I'm allowing myself to experience it so it can move through me rather than pushed back down to be held even longer.
I love that you said that because I feel like one of my biggest struggles is when I'm like, or when I used to be in the thick of like my emotions, like trying to like white knuckle it and like get through it and push it down and not deal with it. I found it so hard to articulate like anything. But now it's kind of ironic because even if I'm like letting myself feel the feelings and I'm crying and I'm upset and I'm like and I'm really like in it, I'm able to articulate so much better than if I had tried to push it back because it's like I can name the emotion, which is huge.
Yes.
I can kind of start to feel in my body, like you said, like where I'm feeling it. And that just makes it so much easier to share with somebody who's witnessing me in this moment what's going on with me. Because before I was just, this blubbering, like, I don't know what's wrong, like all over the
Yeah.
place. And now it's like, okay, like I know I look like I'm sad, I look like I'm breaking down, but like, give me a second. I just need to breathe through this. And when I'm ready, like I will have a conversation. And like that has opened up so many doors to having so many amazing conversations with people, whether that's, you know, a little bit after the fact or it's in the moment. And it's allowed me to not feel like I'm so alone with my feelings. I used to feel like, oh my God, like, you know, it's me against the world or nobody gets me. I'm so misunderstood. People don't understand what I'm saying when I talk. And now, I mean, I still sometimes feel that way, of course, but it's so rare for me to feel that now. Whereas that used to be my default.
Mm. Yeah, there it just really feels like you get to take your power back when you know how to work with the energy in your body. Like
Mhm.
that is why I love this work so much, because it literally just feels like you have control over your life again. Doesn't mean you have control over your emotions and how you feel, but you have control over how you can respond in those moments where it feels really overwhelming and really stressful. And like it is the most empowering and liberating and freeing thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life, is learning how to do this work.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love the whole concept of what you talked about, of kind of labeling it and it becoming who you are. You know, back when we're teenagers and we just feel so much and it feels like your identity. This is who you are. But in actuality, you name it and you allow it to flow through you. You allow it to just be, but don't let it become you. So name it versus label it. Like it is a part of you, but it is not you. And
Mm.
every moment you get to decide who you are and how you are responding to this energy gives you so much more freedom and control over your life and how you live in it, how you experience it.
Mm.
I cannot wait to listen to this entire conversation back.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. And, you know, I do want to touch on this too, because this is all a dance about how to allow ourselves to experience emotions. And I think it is really, really, really important to also touch on the fact that this work also includes allowing yourself and teaching yourself and practicing really feeling the joyful, positive moments as well. Because, you know, everybody's like, well, feel your feelings. That also includes those moments of deep connection and deep gratitude and deep love, and these moments of just like savoring what's happening around you. Because I wrote this post on Instagram the other day where it was like, your nervous system doesn't just respond to stress. Like your body isn't just responding to stress and having all of these big, deep emotions come up. Like your body also responds to joy and peace and rest and social connection. And it's really easy for us to kind of gloss over those things and not take a moment to really let our nervous system and our body sink into that and feel those two very deeply. And I just kind of wanted to touch on that, because this work, like you get to experiment with experiencing all of the different emotions of what it means to be alive. And like, that's what feels really enriching. That's what makes you feel really alive. And it shows you the power that you have, like, to experience moments of pain while you experience moments of joy simultaneously. Like, you know, for example, the holidays, like holidays can be really, really, really painful for people. And there are moments of joy and social connection. And it's really interesting and fun to learn how to play with like, ooh, I'm experiencing this emotion of grief and sadness right now. I really wish that my grandma were still here to experience this, or I really wish my family were all still together as a family unit to experience this. Or and then being able to shift into, wow, now my body, I notice my body is really feeling connected and joyful watching my 3-year-old open their present and just seeing the complete joy and wonder and awe and curiosity in them. And like allowing yourself to just kind of go with this flow of like, where's my body? How is my body responding? And letting yourself experience the joyful moments as well. So I feel like that was just really important because, like I said earlier about like that, those moments of compassion and validation and love that you give to yourself in those moments of hardship, like that's when we have emotional releases, right? And so those joyful moments and those moments of laughter and fun and self-expression and creativity and like all of these, like allowing yourself to really lean into those as well is just as healing as a letting yourself feel the painful emotions. So I feel like that was really important to touch on too, because this doesn't have to just be this like really hard, treacherous thing. It gets to be something that is freeing and enjoyable and fun as well, if we allow ourselves to feel it. And I had to learn that. It took me years to learn that. And now I'm like, please, please don't do what I did and just get stuck in all the really painful shit the whole time. Like allow your nervous system to repattern itself by experiencing and really truly feeling and savoring and being with and experiencing those positive emotional energies that are moving through you as well.
Oh, I love that you said that because it's something that I've been working on so much. And like one of the ways that I've been doing it, and I'd love to hear some like a couple of tips on like how people can do this more. Something I've been doing is I don't use my phone when I'm out with friends, when I'm at the gym, when I'm at a concert. Like I really am present in the moment, and I find that my phone distracts me from being able to be present. Um, and so it drives people crazy because they know when I'm with people or when I'm at the gym or when I'm doing something like podcasting, like all the things that really bring me joy and relief and just good energy, I'm not on my phone. And so I cannot be reached because I'm trying to be in that moment. So what are some other ways that people can allow themselves to fully feel that joy or feel that positive energy?
I mean, I honestly don't really even have like those exact things that you can do besides just in every moment, you can create it. You can choose like just being aware. And like you said too, like not being on your phone. I think that that's a really important piece because when you're on your phone, you're distracted, you're not looking at the world around you. But in those moments where you are going for a walk, when you are doing dishes, when you are out at a concert, when you're having a really deep conversation with a friend, like just really taking a moment to just like savor, wow, I am safe right now. This soap feels really nice on my hands. Like just being really present in your body, allowing yourself to like really fully experience where you are. And I will tell you, when, I had Lyme disease, I've had Lyme disease for 20 years and I was in treatment for it a couple years ago. I literally could not do anything. I was so sick. I couldn't carry groceries in. I could barely walk from one room to another to get a glass of water without feeling like I was going to pass out. Like I was so sick and all I goddamn wanted to do was wash the dishes in my sink. And I just couldn't. And I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting here just wishing that I could wash the dishes. And it's like those little moments that we take for granted every single day that like when you can't do those anymore and you don't have those things anymore, you notice it. You notice it. And so literally taking any moment and just choosing, it's literally a choice to just choose. I'm going to be present with this. I'm going to experience this because this might not be a thing for me whenever. It won't be a thing for me eventually. I won't get to do this forever. And it just kind of brings a moment of presence, really allowing yourself to feel into your five senses, like smell what that soap smells like, feel what those suds feel like on your hands, the slippery softness of it, feel the warmth of the water on your hands, like notice how you just activating those five senses and just allowing yourself to experience it fully. I don't really have tips or things that, I mean, I do, but like it's not as helpful as just being aware of every single moment, capturing the moment with your body and allowing yourself to just fully let it move through you and flow through you.
I love that. Wow. Meleah, I could talk to you all day about this. Um, and maybe we'll have another conversation somewhere down the line on the podcast. I think we could continue down this feelings route for so long. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. So before we let you go, do you have any like last final thoughts that you want to offer? And then do you want to tell our audience where they can find you and whether you have any anything going on that people should know about?
Mm, yeah, I guess my last final thought is like this work doesn't end. It is a lifelong journey. It is an unfolding, ever evolving, always happening process. And just allowing yourself to not feel like you have to rush it or be further along than you are, just like really being with it. That's just my last little thing. And yeah, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram. My name is meleah.rose, MELEAH.rose, and send me a DM. You can come find any of my free resources. I've got a membership. I've got all sorts of things that you can do to experiment with this work and learn it for yourself. So I would love to connect with you.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, that was the Human AF podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to rate it, review it, follow the show, and share all the clips with your friends. And we're so excited to share another episode with you next time.